Hey all, this week I am in Indianapolis and I'm getting ready to drive back to Chicago in the Genesis GV70. Now, because I already have a first look review of this and a tech check, I figured we would do a road trip review. So I'm going to look at cargo space and we are going to check out fuel economy and talk driving impressions for the long haul about this vehicle. My name is Jill Ciminillo and this week's car du jour is the Genesis GV70. All right, before we check out fuel economy, I want to take a quick look at the cargo area because this is really generous. And I'm going to point out this is the release button for the trunk. This is really generous for a vehicle of this size. It's a little bit more on the compact side, but look at the cargo space you have back here. Okay, so we've got 2 roller boards and a couple of backpacks. If you'd stack the roller boards on the side, you could easily fit 4 back here. And then you could stack the backpacks in front. So you're going to be able to fit 4 people definitely in here and their things, which is nice for a road trip. So speaking of passenger space, we're also going to take a quick look at the back seat before we talk into the back seat. You can see that this is actually a really good space to be in as well. And yeah, I have my husband sitting in the front seat to show his space as a passenger. And when I climb back here, I still think there's a nice amount of leg room for an average sized adult. So you can see I have about 4 inches between my knee and the back of the seat, and my feet don't even touch the ground. So I have plenty of foot room back here, and yeah, I can slouch down a little bit. But the other thing we've got going on back here is we have rear seat passenger climate controls. You have USB-C ports and you have an actual plug. So somebody could plug in their computer back here and do some work, or you could plug in a gaming console, something like that, and not have to worry about your battery dying. You also have air vents. And by the way, if I wanted more space back here, yeah, I can just move my husband forward. Love you, honey. In addition to these well-padded seats, you also have, how do I want to do that? In addition to these well-padded seats, you also have a pull down here. So you've got cup holders with prongy things. That's really nice. You can actually put your coffee back here. And you have rear sunshades. So if the sun is bothering you, yep, you can block it out. So there's a lot of good stuff in this back seat for passengers, in addition to the cargo space. All right, so we are going to move into the front seat and power this up. And you can see that I've been doing 24.1 miles per gallon. And EPA estimates you should get 25 miles per gallon on the highway and 21 miles per gallon in combined driving. We are currently doing better than that. So this gets a huge thumbs up from me. I usually don't do the EPA average because I don't drive 55 miles an hour. Because the speed limit is not 55 miles an hour. It's 70 on the way down to Chicago. So I think this is pretty good so far. You know what? I'm going to reset this and then we'll check in again when I get to Chicago and we'll see how we did just in highway driving. So no combined. I'm pretty close to the highway here. So we'll check back in on this and then we'll do some driving. All right, we're about 60 miles into my trip and I just wanted to do a little fuel economy check-in as well as give some driving impressions. And the first thing I want to say is I'm at about 25.2 miles per gallon. I've been traveling between 55 miles per hour and 80 miles per hour depending on the flow of traffic. And so I'm actually holding pretty steady with what the EPA recommends. I find that impressive because most of the tests are done at 55 miles per hour. So this is holding its own in terms of EPA estimates currently at about 60 miles into the trip. Okay, so some driving impressions. I think this is another one of those vehicles that is really good for a petite driver. I have plenty of space between my breastbone and the steering wheel. I love the tilt telescoping ability, and I have a pretty decent driving position. I will say I did have to tilt my seat back a little bit because the headrest does push my head forward just a little bit. So just so that I could find that comfortable position, I just tilted my seat back a little bit and adjusted the lumbar support. So good driving position, good visibility out of all of windows. I like the head-up display, and I should point out this is a 3.5T model and up-level trim, so it's got all of the things on it. So head-up display, digital display, and here's a really cool thing that I discovered, and I've never seen this before. When I set my directions via Waze and then played with the screen behind the cluster, it actually put the Waze map behind my steering wheel. I've never seen that before. Usually Apple Maps will go in there, or Google Maps or whatever, but I've never seen Waze pop in the behind the wheel cluster. So that is actually really, really cool. In terms of ride and handling, this is a very sporty ride. It is also comfortable. There are some surfaces and some road things that go on I-65. We've hit some construction, and I will say because this is a stiffer suspension, you are going to feel that but when you have smooth pavement, it feels pretty good. I'm also going to say the seats are comfortable. They're definitely on the firm side, but they have just enough cushion that you don't feel like you're sitting on cardboard. So overall, I really like how this has been doing in a road trip. I like the technology. Be sure to check out my tech check that I've already done on this vehicle. But the one thing I will say, and I've said it before and I've tested it on this road trip, is the wireless charger is overheating my phone. I've gotten several messages saying that charging has been put on hold because of my phone overheating. So that's not so good. Genesis says that they're doing cool pad things here. They're not. Other than that, driving impressions, get a thumbs up. I've currently driven like 260 miles in this vehicle, and yeah, it's comfortable. I'll check back in when we get back to Chicago. All right, we are back in Chicago, and I have ended my drive with 25.2 miles per gallon. 192.1 miles, 3 hours and 24 minutes. And as you can see, I am driving on city streets a little bit just to weave my way home. But overall, I would say for the most part, I was at about 24 or 25.4 for most of my highway driving. All right, we are back in Chicago, and I have ended my drive with 25.2 miles per gallon. 192.1 miles, 3 hours and 24 minutes. And as you can see, I am driving on city streets a little bit just to weave my way home. But overall, I would say for the most part, I was at about 24 or 25.4 for most of my highway driving. And again, I fluctuated between 55 miles